All right, it looks like we are live. The show will begin here in moments. For this special episode of the Rise Crypto Show, I am joined by Seth Estrada from Mine Your Biz. So we're going to get things going here momentarily, so just bear with us.
Black cats, white cats, all myself cats. Look out! Big dog in the place to be.
Alrighty. We are live. I had to get all those commercials and my sponsors out the way, which I always got to thank the sponsors that help make this show possible. Shout out to Monarch and Presearch. Today, I am joined by Seth Estrada, who is the host of Mine Your Biz, and we're going to get to know him a little bit, talk about his channel, get into a little bit about cryptocurrency mining, for those of you who might be familiar. So towards the end, we'll do a little bit of a Ask Me Anything. It's going to be probably about a 45-minute to an hour episode. I was on Seth's channel last night with him and Nicole Nerd Girl, and I'll have that link down below so you guys can check that out. We had a pretty good time last night, so I definitely encourage people to check out that appearance. And if you're not already subscribed to Seth's channel, again, that's linked down below, and I would encourage you to do that. Real quick, also, I want to encourage people to check out my Patreon channel. It's a way to support what I do directly. I post up exclusive content, early access. I'm going to start doing monthly giveaways starting this month, and you would be automatically entered if you're a patron. It's only $5. And I also want to remind people that I recently partnered up with Money Metals Exchange. So you can go to moneymetals.com if you're a first-time buyer and you purchase $100 or more, and you use the promo code RICE, R-I-C-E, you're going to free half ounce of silver, and that's another way to support the channel as well. And with the price of precious metals being in a little bit of a dip, it's a good time to start that dollar cost averaging. And I have no problem saying I'm giving financial advice for somebody to buy a store of wealth like gold and silver, because it's proving itself through time. So I have nothing to worry about with suggesting that. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Really quickly, I just want to acknowledge we have Deidre Baker in the house. Polly P, thanks again for being in the house with us. And if you guys are watching this, it's broadcasted on my YouTube channel. Make sure you smash that like button. And it's also being broadcasted on my Twitter at Rise Crypto. So if you're not following me on Twitter, be sure to check that out as well. And that's linked down below. So Seth, man, thanks for coming on tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for inviting me. This is it was unexpected, but we've been trying to coordinate something for a while. And I mean, good things come in threes. So I think we probably there's something else coming up soon, I'm sure.
We'll have to figure something out. Maybe we can do like a dual stream and just do because I've been collaborating with a lot of other content creators, and we'll just record the same video and put it on both platforms, because it's also allowing for it to reach a broader audience as well. So I have no problem with mirroring content and doing teamwork, because community and unity is kind of what I've been pushing for in my in the past couple months, especially with my newer content, with my Stranger Than Fiction stuff, where I've been looking into the legal fiction, straw man, and what's been going on with our governments, understanding the law as far as the commerce maritime law system that we're under, and just getting a better understanding for that. So community building is definitely key, man. But last night, it was a chance for you to get to know me. We've kind of, we've been following each other on social media for quite some time and haven't had a chance to really talk one-on-one. So I wanted to take this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you ultimately got involved in crypto.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate that. Again, like you're saying, I've been following you for a while. The content of yours that I have watched from beginning to end, it's always quality. The interviews are always great. You have some really great gets as far as like your guest list and as far as the projects that you've talked to. And what I really appreciate about your content stream is that you don't pull punches. If you want to ask a question, you just ask it. And that's the beauty of independent media. So I'm happy to support that, man. Absolutely happy to support that.
Appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
So for me, getting into crypto, it happened, I've got to go back to first exposures, right? So first exposure to Bitcoin for me was somewhere between 2012 and 2013. Maybe I'd heard it in 2011. Maybe I'd heard the name, but it didn't really leave a lasting impression. So it was between 2012 and 2013. At the time, I was working for a corporate trainer for Samsung Telecom USA. They have a US headquarters out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A lot of people don't know that. And I was living in the greater Austin, Texas area. And it was just, it's a nerd town, right? Everybody talks about tech stuff there. So, I mean, we were making jokes or cracking jokes about Bitcoin at our corporate training events and stuff. Like I had a coworker, he's a guy named, the last name of Rocha, but he's always went by Oso, right? El Oso, and just big huggable guy. Love that guy to pieces. But we would make jokes at each other's expense during our trainings because we worked as a team. And I'd make some kind of a joke about like, hey, so, quickly get the answer to this question for whatever the next piece of trivia is. We had a long format classroom, like either 6 or 8 hours a day as trainers. And to motivate people, I'd say, the first person to get the answer to this question gets 5,000 virtual points payable in Bitcoin by the Oso. Like he'll pay you. And so, I mean, I remember that being part of, for me, just with that really nerdy group being part of our lexicon as early as 2013, it was like solidified. Everybody in the rooms that I was in knew what we were talking about in 2013. It wasn't weird. Right. Or if they didn't know, at least they pretended to know, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm a nerd. I'm supposed to know what Bitcoin is. And so it's just kind of something people had heard about. Blockchain as a technology, blockchain as a potential way to prevent censorship, as a potential way to prevent duplication of valuable assets or any kind of a digital asset. Like all those concepts were kind of, they hadn't fully solidified in my mind at that time. It was just Bitcoin as a brand, and then blockchain as the technology that it used, and cryptocurrency as the token that the Bitcoin network issues. A lot of people don't talk about it in those terms, but Satoshi did. So that's how I learned.
Right.
And yeah, 2013 was my first exposure. I didn't act. That's the big thing, right? So I didn't act. I didn't take action on what I learned. It was still just kind of like, oh, that's intellectually, that's interesting, right? Like, okay, so this Bitcoin thing, maybe it'll have legs. Maybe we'll keep hearing about it in the future. 2014, didn't hear much about it. Didn't track the markets, but a close contact of mine was interested in the Ethereum ICO. And so I heard a lot about it. As part of that, a couple of different jobs that I had in related to corporate training in Central Texas, I had to travel a lot, usually by car. I was driving an average of 3 hours a day. And so, I'd call up friends and I'd listen to audiobooks. I mean, I listened to I listened to the unabridged Kurzweil writings while I was doing that job, just because it was like I had time, right? Nothing but time and a lot of road. But that person mentioned to me repeatedly, I'm not sure about this Ethereum thing. It sounds interesting, but there've been so many scams already in crypto. So I don't know. And then like 2 years later, I heard nothing but like gripes and regret, right? Where it's like, oh man, I could have had like, based on the budget they had at the time, I could have had like 3,000 Ether, right? I mean, that's back when people actually made the distinction between Ether, the token, and Ethereum, the network. I could have had 3,000 Ether and it would have only cost me this much. And they also bought into like some bad Bitcoin mining ASICs that never delivered, because that was a thing that used to happen too, right? Like they'd crowdfund and say, oh yeah, we really want to make this new ASIC, and Bitmain hadn't like totally taken the lead yet.
Right.
And so I heard a lot of that drama before I took action. So I kind of feel like I had that education going into it. 2016, I told myself, like, you know what? I had stopped working at that point for I had a corporate training gig for Microsoft, and I had stopped working for Microsoft at that point. And I said, you know what, maybe I'll get into crypto mining. Kind of makes sense. I think with what I know about systems and about like at least enthusiast building, I could probably do pretty well here. And, you know, just mining whatever, like random coins that pop up and then flipping them, or maybe even Ethereum mining. And I still didn't act. I didn't take the massive action that I should have, right? In retrospect, right? You always look back and it's like, man, could I have scrounged together another $100 to buy that one coin that one time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or could I have like done more to mine more coins, or source more coins, or get bounties or something, like do something in exchange? You always look back at it and like, I don't know. I think to be in the space now is to experience at least some of that regret. And 2016 for me, I was thinking serious about mining, put together my first 12 card rig, and then, but still wasn't very serious about it until 2017. It was like totally undeniable because the whole market moved and everybody was talking about Bitcoin. So I wear it proudly on my sleeve. I wasn't ignorant to what Bitcoin was. I just acted very foolishly and didn't get in as early as I could have.
Right.
So
I just realized that the should have, could have, would have's are things that we shouldn't really dwell on, because we should just learn from that, especially with the cryptocurrency space. I mean, when you tell somebody, had you invested $100 in 2010, any point, even the very last day of 2010, you would have multiple millions of dollars. You probably wouldn't have to worry about anything for the rest of your life as far as money is concerned. But again, we can't worry about the should have, the could haves, and the would haves. But when you first got involved in crypto, were you mining right away?
Yeah, actually I was. So
what was your first coin to mine?
So Ethereum. And It was Ethereum because that is the benchmark for GPUs. When you look at any kind of a new piece of GPU equipment, if you don't know what the Ethereum benchmark is, it's a bad investment. If you're looking at buying a GPU strictly for mining cryptocurrencies. Right. So I started there, benchmarking with Ethereum, but then I quickly moved into speculative coins very, very quickly. Realized that was a path to maybe not to that kind of like tremendous, like intense price action, like you're talking about the 2010 levels up till today. But I knew that if there going to be any coins that would give, you know, a 10x or 100x or 1000x, wasn't going to be Ethereum. Even then, I knew that wasn't going to happen based on the previous cycle that I had sort of like been on board for listening of all the drama, right? You know, regarding those other coins. Like when Doge was shiny and new, I was hearing about it. And so yeah, to see like the resurgence of meme coins and ICOs become a really big institutional thing, I just realized, okay, there have been a couple cycles here before and I've heard about them, you know, intimately. So I need to speculate a little bit to try to figure out which coins can give me a 10x and then exit into some other coin like Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Cool. So what made you decide to ultimately start a YouTube channel?
That was in part just wrapping my head around some of the economics of mining and figuring out, like I had the question, if I were to put some capital into mining equipment right now, what kind of mining equipment would I get? And so the first big breakout video that I had related to cryptocurrency, it was literally just a spreadsheet and me talking over it and using like air horn sound effects because I forgot the right word for one of these cards. And I was like, oh, oops, I made a mistake. I'll just make fun of myself. So it's like, I mean, I got raked over the coals for it because it was like, it's like 15 minutes of straight air horn. Like every other word is like air horn. People were like, oh, you know, rip headphone wearers, right? Like, it's like just totally mess with people's ears. But I was scratching my own itch, basically. Just like, hey, if I had to figure out how to sift through all the data that would go into making a decision, how would I do it? Like if somebody hired me right now to do business intelligence analysis for them right now, what would I do? Like, what would I return to them? Like a pivot table report? Would I try to create some kind of like a database? Like I'm not a SQL guy. I'm not a SQL guy. I'm not a developer, but I know spreadsheets. So made a spreadsheet.
So you're like measuring out like your electricity costs versus how much you were getting in coins and how much you were able to profit versus how much you were able to put out, and then determine. Yeah, because I know you could switch up the coins that you mine. That's one thing that I haven't done yet at all, is do any mining. Now I'm going to be getting a new desktop computer, hopefully within the next month. And I plan on getting something that's pretty nice. And I may end up doing a little bit of mining because I'm going to have like a pretty kick-ass computer for the most part. So
Nice.
I would like to learn about that. But so when you started your channel out, was it specifically with the mining and then you started expanding out more into the cryptocurrency element?
Well, yes and no. I've always had a YouTube channel since, I've had a YouTube channel since I want to say like 2007. So early in the acquisition.
Okay. What were you, because I didn't go back and look at old videos. What kind of content did you originally start out with?
Well, on that channel, there isn't a whole lot of really old content, but there is like hidden content, like a director's reel. I went to film school, and like what kind of idiot goes to a 4-year university to get a degree in filmmaking?
Start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, right. Like, dude, we couldn't have known. I like my the senior project at the film school that I went to. We were still shooting on film, dude. We hadn't even converted to digital yet, and I was doing documentaries back then and shooting on HDV tape for 1080p, and people were like, "Oh, that's it's an off-brand. That's like a consumer-oriented HD quality. You should just shoot on DV. Shoot on mini DV. Here, get the DVX 100. Get the 100B.
Now with music going on an analog route, I think has it adds a certain element. Like when you're going reel to reel and you're able to take, because a lot of to me with the music with like digital, it's kind of high end, but I kind of already foresaw the film industry going in a lot more digital direction. I think that there's been people that have filmed movies with iPhones.
Yeah.
I know that Max Kaiser and Stacy, since they've been home with the lockdown and stuff going on and a self-quarantining, they used to have like a film crew, a minimal crew that would come out and do the stuff. But now they started doing it all by themselves. And they used 2 iPhones. That's how they record the Kaiser. I got a picture. Stacy took a picture of me when I was interviewing Max, because he's dressed normal from the waist up. Like right now I'm wearing pajama pants. Sometimes I'm wearing shorts. But he was wearing really short.
I'm not wearing any pants.
Oh, that's awful.
I'm just kidding. But you can prove nothing, right? It's video.
Well, you got little kids around, so if you're not wearing pants, you're a bad father. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, so as far as like cryptocurrency mining, a lot of people who get involved in crypto find out that they can't really mine Bitcoin effectively. Can you explain, like in the most simplest way, why somebody can't use a laptop and effectively mine something like Bitcoin right now at this moment?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, with your permission, what I'd love to do is just grab a visual aid here. I'm going to grab just a piece of paper, just because I can draw really quickly on this. Okay. And it's a Sharpie, right? So we'll just do. I love whiteboards, by the way. They're great. Yeah, the best thing ever.
I want to do a whiteboard video on some American history to try to put together some timeline stuff. I do like the whiteboard videos.
Awesome. So this right here, I'm going to write one word, all caps. Hopefully it's legible. It's hash rate. So hash rate is the thing that powers the security of the Bitcoin network. And hash rate is provided by computers in the case of Bitcoin that can produce a SHA-256 hash. So that's the one that's used for Bitcoin. Right. There are other kinds of hash algorithms for other coins, but what's important for your question is for Bitcoin, it's SHA-256. Now, it used to be that there wasn't really a whole lot of competition to mine for Bitcoin using SHA-256 back when Satoshi launched Bitcoin. So at that time, I'm going to create a timeline when Bitcoin mining started, 2009, right? So 2009, the total net hash, it's called, all of the hash rate along the Bitcoin network, it was relatively low. And so the competition was low, the total net hash was low, the network difficulty, which is another factor, we'll talk about it in a second, but everybody contributing to the Bitcoin hash rate, it didn't really amount to a whole lot of people. So single laptop, just draw that out real fast. That was competitive back then, right? There's your laptop in 2009. And if you got lucky, I mean, it sounds crazy, but if you got lucky, every couple of days, your contribution to securing Bitcoin would spit out 50 BTC.
And that was when it was first created.
Yeah, that's when it was first created. Every 4 years, that number gets cut in half. So every 4 years, there's a halving. We had one just recently, not too long ago. Well, after that, it went to 25. After that, it went to 12.5. And then most recently, it dropped down to 6.25. So if you, let's just say that like if nothing changed, even just over time, the fact that there is a halving in the block reward, there's a reduction in the reward for miners every 4 years. It means that even if that stayed the same, today on a laptop, you'd be getting significantly less when you did get a block reward. But add to that some other parameters, like some other difficulty effects.
Yeah. So in my, I was going to say, in my understanding, as each block is every 10 minutes, as a new block is produced and confirmed, after so many blocks, the difficulty rate adjusts, because ultimately it's the computers are trying to solve the 256 SHA algorithm, which is an encryption algorithm that was created by the NSA, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah, I think it may have been created by the NSA. I'm not familiar with exactly which organization created. Yeah,
but it was government. And so yeah, I think it's kind of cool how it was designed to not only because of the supply and demand factor, do the decrease in halving every 4 years, but also the increase of the mining difficulty, which I'm sure you'll get into explain now, because this is my basic understanding of it.
Yeah, I'm going to start with just this. Let's pretend that we'll talk about hash rate, and I'll just leave it at this for right now. So, because we could talk about it for the entire time and then some. It's a very nuanced topic, actually, and there are a lot of different takes on it. But to keep it as simple as possible and just answer the one question: why aren't people mining Bitcoin on a laptop today, or why can't you mine Bitcoin competitively on a laptop today? Let's just pretend like in 2009. Again, that there's the function of the halving going down that way. That laptop was giving you 100 mega hash of SHA-256. Well, compare that to the total network hash rate. The total network hash rate may have only been like 1 gigahash. So I'm going to put that, see, as a divide function there. 100 over 1 gigahash. That means your share of the block reward would have, or the number of times that you actually got lucky and got that 50 Bitcoin block reward, it would have been a function of how many other people were mining. Now, the current Bitcoin hash rates, I'm going to look this up live so that it's accurate data for your audience.
Okay.
But Bitcoin, I'm going to look up Bitcoin net hash.
Because this was a question that because I mean, since I've gotten a little bit out of the echo chamber, a lot of people who are new to crypto do ask the question of like, how do I mine Bitcoin? And I'm trying to explain to them that you really can't effectively mine Bitcoin with your own just personal computer. It's just it's not able to keep up with these computer chips that are specifically designed for the mining process. Which, I mean, when Bitcoin first came out, there wasn't any sort of chips that were specifically designed for mining cryptocurrencies because there was no such thing as it at the time. So yeah, that's absolutely correct. And there just wasn't a business use case to create chips that were custom designed to only do the SHA-256. Such a small amount of people, yeah. And now, though, I mean, obviously, you can see the market's got. I mean, in like mid 2017, late 2017, early 2018, places were like on back order for miners and mining equipment and chips. Yes. So now it's crazy. This is a notation that very few people will even know in computing. 2020, the denominator here is 150 exahash. That's EXA hash. That's beyond a hash. It's beyond a kilohash. It's beyond a megahash. It's beyond a gigahash. It's beyond a petahash. It's really, really big. It's so many orders of magnitude beyond what a computer can do, a typical laptop or desktop computer, that now if you don't have not just an ASIC,
like an individual ASIC, these little boxes. But if you don't have something approaching a room full of ASICs, or maybe even a warehouse, or even a couple warehouses full of ASICs, you can go ahead and just draw an airplane hangar here with some doors on it. So by comparison, this is what it takes to be competitive today in 2020. Like, just to have a visual, if people want to compare that, if you want to be like the wealth equivalent, those 50 Bitcoin, to get 50 Bitcoin every couple of days, you would need to have warehouses upon warehouses full of ASICs.
Yeah, and I've seen like, obviously, image of that. I've heard like Genesis mining in Iceland, and then I've seen like where people are mining inside of mountains underground, sometimes underground where they have vegetable gardens growing on top because of the heat that it produces, even heating up your home in situations with it, because I've heard like it just gets, I even heard that there was a guy years ago in the early days of Bitcoin that was mining Bitcoin like profusely, multiple laptops, would just keep going out and buying computers, and was like basically in the summertime during like a heat wave ended up dying of dehydration because of all the heat. I mean, you got to look this up. Apparently like this really happened. Like somebody just got like somebody just hardcore mining and they cooked themselves basically.
That is so sad, because you figure that guy, like, basically that's a coin burn, first off, right? Because the keys died with him. So that guy he literally committed seppuku on the steps of the Bitcoin temple, dude. That's what that guy did.
That's crazy.
He sacrificed
everything when you say it like that too. But yeah, I have to look that up and find it and need some information about that, because somebody had told me about it and I was fact checking it, and it's been quite a while, but because I know it produces a lot of heat.
It can. It can. On a typical laptop, though, most consumer equipment, if you're mining something that's maybe not Bitcoin, that can run on like a modern gaming system or like a work desktop or something today profitably, again, Ethereum is a pretty good choice, because you're going to.
So can somebody with an average computer mine Ethereum and actually be able to get some rewards? Oh
yeah. So just as of the time of publication, when Rice is talking to me right now, if you get if you had an AMD GPU like the 5700 XT by AMD, and you were just running it when you weren't otherwise playing video games.
It's a gaming processor.
It's a game. Yeah, it's a gaming GPU.
GPU mining.
So it's a gaming GPU. So it would run your games pretty well. If you're into like 1080p gaming, or if you're a streamer and you want to play games reasonably fast, this is a pretty common choice. And it's not an expensive GPU by any stretch. It's not like whatever, $1,000 GPU. It costs a few $100. It's not free,
right? But
it's no like $1,000 or $2,000 piece of equipment, and holds its resale value relatively well. It's not a ton of money, but it's going to earn you about a dollar of profit a day after you pay your electricity passively.
Okay,
doing nothing, just letting it mine Ethereum. That's one GPU that it's pretty common for dudes to have at home if they're gamers.
Right. Now, what about CPU mining? Is there any coins that are worth CPU mining, or is that just kind of already passe now? Not really.
CPU mining is an interesting space. There are some coins that do make sense to CPU mine, and I'd have to pull up an aid, because it changes pretty fast.
Right.
But the Monero algorithm was designed to be CPU mineable. And yeah, so
are you mining Monero?
I am.
Well, I guess you wouldn't want to admit that you're mining Monero, because then the anonymity goes away. But
that's the beauty of it, is that whether I say I'm mining Monero or not, difficult to verify.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. So, but
I'm just going to assume that you do with the logos, but we'll just leave it at that.
I'm a big fan of their mission. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
They're one of the few projects that, like you were saying before, with gold or Bitcoin, or gold or silver, and then I'm sure maybe with Bitcoin or with good projects that have strong fundamentals, I don't have any problem describing to people what Monero's mission is and what it's intended to do. I would never give somebody financial advice to tell them like, definitely put your money here, but I'll say Monero this year as people are seeing how important anonymity and privacy are, Monero has been gaining Satoshi value, not just dollar value. It's been gaining value against Bitcoin consistently over the last 3 months.
Yeah, because it was about 3 months ago really, really comparable to the price of Litecoin. And I think since it's doubled in price of Litecoin, if I'm not mistaken. Last time I looked at Monero, it was closer to the $100 price per coin. I'm not sure where it's at now, but
yeah, it's gone up since then. But beyond that, it's gone up specifically in its value relative to Bitcoin. So it's prior to 3 months ago, it was. And the only reason I know these numbers is because I created a bot to report the numbers on my Twitter account every day. Because again, I don't. If people want to view that as a form of promoting it, I don't care. They don't pay me anything. I don't get a kickback.
Information.
Yeah, and I think it's valuable information, man. Everyone's curious about privacy.
Yeah, privacy is a big issue, especially when we have things like the digital dollar coming. I plan on doing some more roundtable conversations. I'd like to invite you to some of them or one of them regarding like these subjects of privacy, the digital dollar, the Banking for All Act, and kind of what's going on. Because we hear a lot of talk about privacy coins being delisted from exchanges and more difficulty in the privacy sector. So, I mean, and then we see the IRS offering up a bounty, whether or not that means they already have a way to crack it, whether or not they have a way of watching your computer or everything you do, I don't know. But right now, like as far as mining, what are some coins that you found over the past couple of months that you have found to be profitable? And do you see people that mine more for profitability or mining to specifically support that network and not worry about the profitability because they're, let's say, a Monero fan and they just devote their power to that? But then you can have the other person who's looking for the most profitable coin so that he could trade for Monero and maybe get more Monero than you would get mining Monero in the first place. So
yeah, I think it's probably a pretty even split. What you just described there, Rice, it's I mean, and maybe it even is like a very tidy, like 1/3 of each sort of miner profile where you do find guys and gals, both. That's the cool thing about mining. It's a lot like, it's not quite like crypto trading. There are some women involved in crypto mining, but they're very rare. And if you find one that's single, bro, ask her out. Just gonna say that, like, because it proves that she's able to think in very, very many ways. Smart. Oh
yeah, I get very intimidated thinking about the idea of having to put together a computer. Putting together a miner. I've seen some of like the videos of people putting together. It's intensely crazy, and I just no, not for me. Yeah. I would be more like, hey Seth, what would you charge me to do this for me? Well, we're friends, right? You're gonna look out. I get the discount.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's funny because I have I've done some favors for friends in the community also. And I mean, that's kind of how it goes. You have to keep your prices low, right? Like you have to keep your initial purchase price low. But to answer your question, you asked about CPU mining, and then you asked about coins that I found recently that I like. And then you asked also about the sort of miner profile. Do people just mine one thing? Let me jump back a little bit and say for CPU mining, there are some kind of hidden gems for CPUs. They're going to be hard to find. One it's kind of weird. It was a subset of the Polkadot ecosystem. Okay. And it came to my attention completely randomly. I would not have been looking for it other than a collab that I did with somebody who's kind of who's bullish on Polkadot right now because they're all, they like the alternate use case. They like that it's an alternative to Ethereum. But there's one coin that launched on Polkadot that has proof of work, even though Polkadot itself is not a proof of work coin. They said, no, we're going to have our token on Polkadot be proof of work, and we're going to make it CPU mineable. Well, I mean, for a few days, it was like $5 a day on a typical desktop CPU that you could be earning. So but you have to like really scour for those kinds of CPU coins these days. Monero is not that coin anymore. When they changed, it kind of was. And there's a much smaller coin called Epic Cash. It's very privacy focused. Yeah, no,
I've had Max on the show several times. Epic used to be a sponsor about a year ago. So yeah.
Nice. Well, they're still profitable on CPU.
Yeah, well, the price has a lot of volatility. So yeah, I could see where that would, especially when the prices are down and you're able, I'm sure, to get more out of the mining as well. So It's interesting. Now, is it more effective to do GPU mining than CPU mining, or does it not matter?
Yeah, for my part, I'm just going to say that GPUs scale more easily. You can get, even on a consumer oriented computer, something that is just like for gaming and for regular desktop use, browsing the internet or whatever, you normally have at least 2 slots for GPUs to go into. So if you wanted to do like a drop-in upgrade, somebody who's maybe even a little bit intimidated by like system building, like Rice, I'm just telling you, if you already had a computer that already had a CPU slot open in it, one YouTube video in about 5 minutes, you'd be pretty comfortable just putting that additional GPU in and making sure that the software is set up correctly. And then there's some utilities that can walk you through it too. So GPUs just scale a lot easier with anything you already have available as a desktop computer.
Cool.
Beyond that, gosh, I've got it back there on the shelves. I've got a bunch of mining gear, and it's like that's some ducting for piping heat in different directions and stuff. Like the ghosts of miners past live on those shelves, and but it's fun, right? But I've got a board there that is custom designed just for GPU mining, where it's still got a CPU. I could use it like a desktop computer, but then it's got 8 different slots for GPUs. I could just drop a new one every couple of months, maybe, windfall cash or something. Maybe I do a bounty for a project and say, hey, you know what? Hold the coins, send me your GPUs, get a couple of GPUs to drop in. But I could build up a mining rig that way, or maybe I find a really good price and I flip a few and I wind up getting 5 for myself. A lot of guys in the space do this sort of thing. They don't talk very publicly about it, right? Because that's like, it's how it's their hustle. But a board like that I could use to build up, and before you know it, it's pulling a lot of money every day. Like with Ethereum, it could be doing 10, 20, $40 a day, depending on the cards that are in there.
How many miners are you currently running now?
Oh, I never discussed that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I mean, do you have any, because I'm just curious how like the ratio of your power use is, like how much your power bill is versus your profitability. Obviously, if you're still doing it, you're profiting, but do you have a pretty high electric bill?
At home, I basically don't mine unless I need to, because the residential price for power here is just I get gouged. So when I ramp up my usage, and it's kind of counterintuitive, right? You figure if you were to go like, go to like you get that really nice ice from the convenience store, like not the stuff that comes out of the tap that you make yourself at home, the really nice restaurant ice, the stuff, right? That's the best stuff, right? Like restaurant ice. So let's say you went to a place to buy restaurant ice and you got a bag of restaurant ice. The moment you ask them like, hey, can I get 5 bags of restaurant ice? They're going to offer you a discount. Like you probably don't even have to ask, right? They're just going to say, oh, cool. Here's your discount because you bought in bulk.
Right.
With power and utilities, it's totally not that way. So when you consume more power, they're like, oh, you consume a lot of power. You must have a lot of money. You're either crypto mining or you're growing at home.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
Yeah, they just know. They just know for sure because that's what they've seen 100 times. And so they think if you're growing, well, either you're growing legally or illegally. We don't care. That's probably cash in your pocket.
You're making money either way.
Yeah, we're gonna stick you for more. So my cost basis for power goes up when I'm mining, and the utility knows it. In fact, on a phone call with them once, they said, look, we know you're running a micro data center at home. I'm like, excuse me? I beg your pardon?
That's hilarious though, man.
Yeah, they know the power profile very well. So yeah, I basically don't mine at home unless I have either a really strong reason to, or it overlaps with a need to heat the house, because I don't live in a mansion, man.
Well, I've seen like office shares and things like that. I mean, I guess there is some sort of availability for someone to be able to rent space at a place that already maybe has a decent power rate, or that can just kind of figure it in and you can work out a deal and just pay rent for doing it. So I'm sure that's how a lot of these mining farms started out.
Yeah. And some of the best operations in 2018, really 2017 going into 2018, they just find some place in the industrial district, right? Like if you see giant high voltage lines running out to a warehouse, right? Maybe there's some like sort of the underground garages. You know the one that I'm talking about. They're not chop shops per se. They're running it on his business, but they're running really lean and they got that really high power, right? Bunch of lifts and stuff there. If you ever see a shop like that, it's like, dude, they've got a good rate for power, and you know it. Like, so if they're cool with crypto, there's going to be somebody there all day working on cars. So a lot of little operations start that way, where they're just working out of the corner of like a body shop or something. And got like,
hey, real quick, while before we shift gears for the last part of the show, my friend Paulie P asked, what do you recommend with an AMD Ryzen 5 2500U with a Radeon Vega Mobile GFX 2000 MHZ 4-core 8 logical processors?
Okay, so Paulie P, I appreciate the question, man. That's an oddly specific one. This is a mobile chipset, right? The Ryzen 5 2500U. So, and then the Radeon Vega Mobile. These are mobile chipsets. That's going to be a tough one because your hash rate is not going to be, you're not going to have quite the same high performance that you would on a desktop part. But I would definitely say look for a micro cap or something that may be along the lines of like Haven protocol. With that Radeon Vega Mobile, you might be able to get enough hash rate out of it that that over the cost of power, you're getting a little bit of that Haven coin, and it's based on Monero. So it's
what does the mobile mean for if it's a desktop or a laptop?
So that just means that it's a mobile processor designed to go into a laptop.
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. That's cool. And you know what I'd like for people that are watching this, you know, if they have any questions about mining, basics of mining and things like that, you know, definitely comment below, because I'd like to bring you back on to do a follow-up and talk about mining, because I know a lot of people have questions and it can be a little bit of a boring topic. So I didn't want to like, you know, keep it going as far as like for a long time. And before we wrap things up, I wanted to touch base on Eddie Van Halen. I don't know if you heard.
I did.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I did a stream earlier. I was supposed to do a stream at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time with Bitcoin Ben, but it ended up getting delayed, and I did it at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 4 o'clock your time, which was, I had a half-hour break in between the two streams, about 25 minutes, but it's cool because I wanted to get both these done today because I was looking forward to both conversations, but yeah.
Nice.
But yeah,
sad, man.
we, it sucks, man. We mentioned it and we were kind of touching on, you know, how much I appreciate it. You know, Van Halen, I used to sing in bands, and yeah, Eddie Van Halen was such an innovative guitar player for his time, and definitely wrote a lot of music. He had a long life. It's just, I know, like in the latter days, he was dealing with a lot of hip issues. I think he had knee problems. A lot of that was from him being super active on stage while being a heavy drinker. And then I know he was battling cancer, and I think that was ultimately what took him out, unfortunately. So I just wanted to, for a moment, talk about that and pay my respects, because I got mad love for Eddie Van Halen and what Van Halen has accomplished. I'm more of a David Lee Roth fan, but overall, I appreciate the band. And then I wanted to touch on McAfee, because last night I told you I had emailed Janice because we weren't 100% confirmed last night whether or not John was really incarcerated, because there's been so many issues before. It's almost like the boy who cried wolf. So right. I even asked, I had to send an email to Janice, and I'm like, is he really arrested? Like, seriously, for real this time? This isn't like the G-string panties in the, you know, as a mask in the airport joke situation, is it? And she didn't respond to me last night, but she ended up responding to me this morning at like 9 o'clock and said that it was real. She said that they've got a team of attorneys on it and they're trying to work on getting them out. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And then she posted something on Twitter, which I retweeted. So if you're not following me on Twitter, I would encourage people to check out my Twitter. But I want to read real quick what she had said, because when I was talking about the freedom stuff and us standing united, what she said really struck my heart, and it really speaks very loudly to this whole movement that I'm trying to be a part of, that I am a part of, that I'm trying to wake people up to and start to actually put things into action. So, and you know, John's somebody who I've had the fortunate opportunity of doing 7 interviews with, more than anybody else. I believe somehow he took a liking to me, and he even recorded a speech for an anarchist conference that was about this time last year in Philadelphia called Anarchadelphia. So I have a John McAfee playlist with all those interviews, which pretty much goes through all of his ordeals. So he was arrested for tax evasion, and then also, I'm not sure what the specific charges were, but the SEC, something to do with promoting ICOs without just publicly telling people he was being paid for it. And apparently he had, I've heard between 11.6 and $20 million in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, between like 7 to 9 projects between 2017 and 2018. And then, so what Janice said this morning, and it was about maybe 10 minutes after she had emailed me, was, hello, everybody. I would like to state that both mine and John's accounts are staffed by interns, and they were not privy to what happened with John yesterday. Unfortunately, what has been reported is true. John has been detained in Spain. I cannot comment on any details of the situation, but I can tell you that I have been in contact with him through the team of lawyers that has been working tirelessly on his behalf. He's in good spirits and wanted me to thank you for all of your support during this entire ordeal. Since we left the United States, it has meant the world to both of us, knowing that there are still believers in freedom all over the world. Regardless of whatever John may or may not have done, he has spent most of his retirement fighting not only for his own freedom, but everyone else's freedom in America and across the world. For your freedom and the right to make your own choices in life. Now more than ever, he needs your support. All of our support, really, in this battle against injustice. I will be limited in what I am able to say going forward, so please bear with me in the coming weeks. While John is detained, we will continue to staff his Twitter account to provide whatever updates we can. Thank you all so much for your best wishes. They mean a lot to us both, and we'll get through this. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and let people know, just to kind of pay attention, because I think he's facing a minimum of 5 years for the SEC stuff.
Jeez.
I don't know what the tax evasion stuff was. And like I was telling you last night, I mean, I was told, I mean, now it's not a problem to even talk about it. I was told by people very closely associated with John that the tax evasion stuff wasn't true. That there was an issue that it was resolved, and they just basically are in retirement and traveling around and kind of playing this game of we're wanted by the U.S. government for evading taxes because taxation is theft. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. And they're just bringing attention to that. And, you know, I mean, because I know how many times they've been detained and he wasn't fully extradited. So I'm like, why? So you start to put a lot of things together, and I started figuring out, and then I started questioning. And even one of these guys, I said to him last night, like I said, I thought that tax evasion stuff was made up. And he's like, me too. And then I sent him the email, a copy of the email that I got from Janice, and he's like, shit. Because his response when I asked him yesterday, is this legit? He's like, I haven't talked to him since like the 26th of last month. And so I'm not really 100% sure, but he's like, this looks kind of legit. So Jeez. It's unfortunately, but John McAfee seems to be arrested, and he's almost 74 years old. So if he's got to spend 5 or more years in prison, that's going to suck, because who knows if we're ever going to see John McAfee ever again, if that's the case. That's
true. I mean, yeah, to be indelicate about it, like who knows how he's going to handle drying out. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It might be good for him. I mean, so he's not a coke addict. A lot of people think he's using coke and stuff. Now he does drink. I think he is a bit of an alcoholic, but as far as everything else, it's all, I think, just part of the the gonzo style of marketing that John McAfee is just so well known for, you know, the whole bet with the extremeness of I'm going to eat my own cock. If Bitcoin's not worth, what was it? $1 million?
I think it was $1 million.
$1 million by the end of 2020, or was it just a certain date in 2020? Because I think the anniversary of when the bet was made was not too long ago, but I think it was by the end of 2021. But then he just basically is like, it was a joke, you know, I was just trying to bring attention to crypto. Like, who in their right mind would eat their penis?
Yeah, right. Well, not only that, but I mean, there's almost no territory in which it would even be legal. Like to
he was
any
joking
part of
about serving it to a Thai prostitute, some sort of Asian prostitute in particular. Yeah. It had to be Asian for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he said something. Yeah, something about outsourcing it. He was gonna hire somebody. He was gonna outsource the job.
Yeah, like he wasn't gonna physically eat it himself. Delegate the responsibility. Commission someone else to eat my penis. So yeah, I mean, but man, regardless of what people think about John McAfee, I mean, he's just an interesting character. I mean, the last interview I did with him was one of the more fun ones, because it's like, what the hell am I going to keep talking to you about? Like, you're not running for president right now. You're just on the run. And we've talked for that about so long. So what are we going to talk about? So I asked him about extraterrestrials, time travel, cool. QAnon. Very interesting responses. We talked a lot about hallucinogens and his love for hallucinogens. So,
wow, yeah. See, I'm not even qualified to go there, man. Just not qualified.
It was a crazy conversation, man. But yeah, man. Just shout out to that renegade. It just sucks, man, because I was hoping to actually reach out to him and do interview number 8. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But I just have definitely encouraged people to follow what's going on the Twitter accounts, on Janice's and John's. I'll be retweeting stuff so that people can stay in the loop and what they can do to try to help support the situation. And if anybody wants to break them out, I would encourage you guys to do that. That would be epic. That would be one of the most coolest things, you know, if somebody could simultaneously break him and Ross Ulbricht out at the same time, and then just like man on the run and just like go live life and just like lead the revolution and let's do this. So I would encourage everybody out there who can has the technology and the tools to break people out of prison and has the love for doing such a thing. I would encourage you to definitely break out John McAfee and Ross Ulbricht.
Oh my gosh.
Is that illegal for me to do that?
I think it is. Yeah.
Sweet. If I said I was joking or psych, would it matter?
That's just it, man. I
don't get
jail free cards
at this point, man. I mean, yeah.
Hashtag not advice.
Hashtag I don't give a fuck. But yeah. It is what it is, man, because it's time for us as individuals, you know, to start standing together and uniting, you know, us realizing the power that we have individually to be able to make change and inspire change, and the power that we have together when we're united. I mean, I keep saying it, but it's like the repetition hopefully will get to people, you know, united we stand, divided we fall, and we are so divided. So we need to change that, you know, and that's kind of the mission that I'm undertaking along with others, is just trying to wake people up to these realities so that we can start finding those things to bond over, because there are lots of things that connect us as man and woman being of the same species. So we can find some kind of common ground to stand together on. And I think it's high time for us to do that, you know, and kind of be a check and balance to the world.
Yeah, man, that's poetically said. I'm curious, Rice. I know I'm a guest on your show, and I'm going to ask, what is a concrete step that you feel strongly would help more people if they just tried it? Like not just the mental stuff, the mental game, like, because you mentioned like understanding is a big deal, but a concrete step people could do to just kind of free themselves a little more and get deeper involved into all the crypto scene and and using blockchain in some way that is meaningful for them? What's the biggest thing you've seen?
I mean, you had to obviously educate yourself about what crypto and blockchain is. But once you start getting that understanding, it's just a matter of finding something that you're passionate about, something that you can get behind. A friend of mine, Eric Sullivan, is doing a project called Kool-Aid. And the AID is the autonomous donation engine. And he's working on a platform that will help bring more transparency to nonprofits, and it would also allow for a gig economy work, basically getting paid for doing good, and also then bringing more transparency to nonprofits as well, which I would like to see a lot more accountability for nonprofits and what they're doing with what they're taking in, because we hear all kinds of stories about you donate $20 and maybe $1 of it goes to the actual cause that you're trying to donate to, and the rest is going towards organizational costs. But I mean, there's a lot of things that blockchain itself can do to help disrupt the world. So the potential is unlimited. Anything that has a third party that is kind of taking away from the other parties involved needs to be cut out. Now, there are situations where you need to have centralness, and having somebody, and having that control factor, but you get what I'm saying overall. Now, on a more human, mental level and spiritual level, I would just really encourage people to practice every day, trying to be the best them that they can. That's what my practice change stuff is all about. And it kind of coincides with the things that, blockchain technology can, as far as the industries it can disrupt. So being the change that you want to see in this world, instead of complaining about the things you don't like and putting that negative energy out there, do things to show others the change that you want to be, and lead by example, so that the more of us that do that, the more it inspires other people. And know that it's something that you do by practicing. The more you practice at something, the better you get. And the more you're aware of this, the more that you can learn from all your experiences, and know that you're going to make mistakes. But the point of that is learning from your mistakes and growing. Once we get to that point and start knowing individually the power that we have, then I think that people can start realizing the power that we have together. And there's so much going on in the world that's unjust. There's so much that people are complaining about, as far as the control and what's happening with our governments, what's happening with our economies and things like that. And it's high time that people just start standing up. When enough people make a stand, we can actually change this world. And blockchain and cryptocurrencies is just one of those tools that's going to allow us to do that. I mean, I could see automating Congress. So if someone out there is a coder, someone can come up with a smart contract system that allows for automating Congress. The reason we have politicians, particularly in the United States, and I'm sure it works in the same way in other countries, is to represent a group of people's votes. And it made sense to do something like that back in the 1800s, early 1900s. But now where we are in technology, we can have blockchain voting, and everybody's vote can actually matter. So we wouldn't actually need those politicians to represent us. We could cut that out. So there's a whole lot of things that, the music industry needs to be disrupted.
Oh my gosh. Right.
People can build platforms to be able to allow for the artists to be able to make the money, where it's, because basically whenever you have a record deal, basically essentially what you're doing is getting a loan from a record company. You got to pay that back. You don't really make no money until you pay back what you owe them. And a lot of times that takes the bands a while. That's why they're touring relentlessly and selling merchandise.
Well, like you're saying, man,
now labels are trying to take that money.
Yeah, like you're saying right there, if smart contracts and these like non-collateralized loans that are being done in air quotes DeFi were totally applied just to the music industry, they'd be pretty killer, man. Killer app, right? Like
the health industry. I mean, there's so many different industries, so many different things that need to be broken up and need to have this technology available to the everyday person. So I would just want to hopefully inspire people to want to educate themselves as well to become coders, to understand this technology so that we can have future builders to build these things, so that we can have these platforms available, so that when we try to build a new system, we have all the tools that we need, you know?
So awesome, man. I'm curious. I know you wanted to close it about an hour.
Yeah.
Can I throw you a curveball? Throw a wrench?
You're good.
Trump and COVID-19, man. Trump getting COVID-19. What does this mean for crypto? We'll keep the main thing the main thing. What does it mean for crypto, do you think?
I mean, really nothing. I mean, look what's been going on with cryptocurrency right now. There's not a lot of that's really affecting crypto. I mean, the news about the COVID stuff with Trump initially kind of hit the markets just a little slightly, but then just bounced back. I mean, we've had the BitMEX news. That's pretty big. What did that do to Bitcoin? I think Europe just made some decision about futures contracts ending for retail investors. That affect price? I mean, normally these kind of things would affect the price.
Yeah, well, Bitcoin's staying above 10,000
when we're in a beginning of a bull market.
Yeah.
And when you see bad news not affect the price, you know that we're in the beginning of a bull market.
Yeah.
And we've had some pretty damn bad news.
That's true, man. 2020 has just been like a series of unfortunate
obviously
events.
Everything got hit in March. Everything.
Yeah.
So you can't, that's a completely isolated situation. You know, and then you have the crypto markets being manipulated by like Tether and the exchanges. But I think that's going to start coming to an end. I think that was what I think BitMEX is like the first of many dominoes. Honestly. Okay. Yeah. I think that I'm not that I'm a fan of regulation, but I think all the exchanges that aren't playing game are going to have problems. You know, and any of the ones that don't allow US investors that are allowing, or US users that are allowing or not causing an issue, or where VPNs will let you to bypass, and they're not doing anything to prevent the VPN situation, and US users are using an exchange they're not supposed to use. Those are the ones that are going to have problems. And Binance is guilty as hell. Guilty as hell. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some news about CZ getting arrested. I even made a joke on Twitter. It's a half joke. I tweeted out to Justin Sun, asked him if I could interview him before he got arrested for securities fraud violations. Like, dude, come on, man. Let me get that interview before you go to jail.
I don't know, man. That'd be a tricky one. I don't think that Justin Sun is untouchable per se, but I think that the SEC would be very cautious about arresting a foreign national from China.
Okay. Do you remember in April or May, the federal government gave bailout money to like companies and stuff?
Yeah.
Tron was one of those companies.
I'm aware. Yeah, it was like $2 million.
And they're based in San Francisco.
Well, their acquisition is based in San Francisco. BitTorrent is based in San Francisco. Tron, they just kind of took up shop inside of the old offices.
Right. Is that legit? Do you think that the U.S. is going to have a problem with that at all? Because, I mean, he actually was, there's been videos where he's been bragging about receiving this federal money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be legit. You figure so.
I think he's going to have a problem. Personally, I think so. We'll see.
You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. There'll probably be some repercussions, but I think that there are definitely ways in which you can work within the system. Like most people don't know, having a Delaware corp, right? Like forming a C corp in Delaware, you don't have to be an American citizen to have a C corp in Delaware.
Oh, I know.
Right. So,
you can even be a nation doing the same thing. You can incorporate your nation in Delaware too.
Yeah, right.
Just saying.
The sovereign nation of rice. I need to see it. You love to see it.
Well, no, I'm talking about United States Incorporated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another thing, another rabbit hole I have to take you down. But yeah,
dude, my Zoom is out of control right now.
It is, man. It is.
It's the comment section. The comment section is going crazy.
You really need. All right, man. So before we do wrap it up, and we got to do it again, we'll do it again soon. But any final thoughts or anything you'd like to leave people with, or tell them how they can find you on social media as well.
Well, hey, I appreciate you asking. First thing I would say, so along with your mantra of practice change, start using crypto, man. Find cryptos that you can use, but start using crypto. And along that mantra of practicing change, on mineyour.biz, I run an e-commerce shop where we have all kinds of crypto-oriented designs, and occasionally we'll resell hardware there as well. So things like a Raspberry Pi for running a full node, or full node devices, or mining gear, little parts and pieces for mining rigs. And we accept cryptocurrency. We accept Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. We accept Ethereum. We accept several ERC20 tokens. We accept Monero. We're one of the few shops that does, and several other coins, because we want to see that change in the world. And when we do accept payment for some of those goods and services on the site, they don't hit Coinbase. They don't hit like all the other typical custodial services. They're totally non-custodial. It's circular. So we hold that crypto, and it's not on anybody else's radar. As long as your OPSEC is good with your wallets and your anonymity is good, your crypto is, it goes to the person you intend to send it to. There's no other person, no other middleman, no Visa or MasterCard fee. So
no, I definitely encourage people to use, and I'm going to be doing some videos about ways that people, especially newer people to the space, that can earn cryptocurrencies so they can accumulate without actually buying, because there's lots of ways that, people can do that. And I think that's another a way that people should try to accumulate. And it's a good way of getting people's feet wet and getting them interested is, once you give a little bit of cryptocurrency to somebody and then they start checking it out, seeing the price go up and down, they start getting interested, they start looking at prices, start looking at the market, and before you know it, they're like buying every coin they could think about, and they're FOMOing into everything and doing everything the wrong way, and buying when the hype cycle at the highs and getting upset when it goes down and going like, wow. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the great, if you want a man to, if you give a man some crypto, he's broke for a day. Teach a man about crypto, he'll be broke for a lifetime.
Good, man. You're like the crypto wise man now.
Oh,
we need to get you in like some Obi-Wan Kenobi get up or something and do like some some inspirational videos.
Yeah, I'll be like that machine, right? They put in the quarter, the little guy in the turban. Yeah, put in a crypto quarter, make an NFT of it or something. But,
sweet. Well, I do have links down below, so I do encourage people, if you have not checked out Seth Estrada's YouTube channel, it's Seth Estrada's YouTube channel. It's linked down below, and the show is Mine Your Biz, and is also it's mineyour.biz, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I've got that link down below too, so I encourage people to check that out. I do want to appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you give a thumbs up to this video. Really quick, I do want to ask you, man, just hold on for me 1 second as I wrap things up on here, and we'll just talk for just a quick second. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I encourage you to check out my Patreon channel. Make sure you're following me on LBRY. Check out my audio podcast. That is Rice Radio. It's hosted on anchor.fm and available on all major podcasting platforms at Rice Radio. And as always, I encourage everybody to be the change by practicing change. And we is